Hello, BookTube. I've got a little mail for you today on a gray, sleety day that just has not let up at all. It has not offered a single consolation to being outside. It's raw. It's not warm anymore, but it's not actually winter cold. It's not actually raining. It's just sort of in between. The ground is slick. The air is gray. It destroys the light here in Hyde Cottage, but it totally removes any joy from the outside walk that the Bean and I go on a regular basis. But mail did come, and it was soaked. Once again, the weird psychological war that I'm having with my mail deliverer, where there are many, many places to put the mail where it would be in no danger of being soaked by the elements. Instead, put in one place where it's bound to get mighty damp. I have one periodical, and that is the TLS, the London Times Literary Supplement, that had one really interesting piece of historical bit. The TLS doesn't only talk about book reviews. They will often have literary essays or literary announcements, and those can be very, very interesting. And one of them was this. This is a group article about love letters of Henry VIII to Anne Boleyn that are in the Vatican. And that is fascinating, absolutely fascinating. I'm sure it will generate a book. There was also, just opposite that, there was a review of a book called A History of Fatigue by George Vigarello, translated by Nancy Erber. The review is by Anna Katharina Schaffner. And there we've got a worker leaning on her hoe, just sort of tired, fatigued. And it'll be interesting to read. It's an interesting subject, but it comes up way too often in the what is obnoxiously referred to as the discourse, the 21st century Twitter sphere. It comes up way too often in fraudulent ways. There's not a week goes by when I don't read a tweet from someone just sort of plaintively asking, how do I stop being so tired, guys? How do I stop being so tired? And it only takes the few times that I've tried it, it only takes one glance at the person's Instagram feed, which of course they have an Instagram feed, and they upkeep it, which takes energy, their precious stored energy. It only takes one glance at their Instagram to realize that they never exercise, they live on Pop-Tarts and Red Bull, and they vape literally every minute that they're awake. So not like cigarettes anymore, where you know, one 20-minute span of time standing freezing cold up to your ankles in sludge in a dirty rat-infested alley would gain you the freedom not to think about it for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, something like that. Not that. Instead, with vaping, it's literally all the time. You have it in your hand, and there are very few places that have really strict indoor rules. This is every bit as deadly for the people who are around the vapor as tobacco smoking is. But legislation hasn't caught up to that and has been severely blocked by people who want this to be something you can do anywhere. They don't want their addicts to ever have to stop. And as a result of that, and as a result of social norms being a little bit lax on the subject, it's very rare that you'll find a store proprietor or even a restaurant proprietor who will walk up to someone who's vaping and say, "Don't do that inside." It's very rare that they'll think to do that or want to. And there's this weird idea that this is a consequence-free, even healthy kind of smoking. It isn't. It's absolutely lethal. And if it weren't absolutely lethal, it would be rendered so by the fact that unlike the old kinds that were intermittent, this is constant. You can vape all the time. And all the people on Twitter who pop off about how I'm so tired, I have such fatigue, those things are true of all of them. They don't exercise, they eat Pop-Tarts and Red Bull, and they vape constantly. So their fatigue is self-imposed, to put it, simply. Their fatigue is self-imposed, which gets a little bit fatiguing to swat down all the time. So I'm sure that I will get that book in the course of time. I don't know that it has an American release. But let's look at the mail, which is damp, but openable. Let's see. We've got a few packages here, no boxes. But let's see what this first one is. Brightly colored. The Bean is up on her shelf there. It's currently doing what it's been doing all day, kind of an in-between snowing, kind of a sleet snow that really is unappetizing. It's unappetizing to be out in it, but it's unappetizing even to look at it. Let's see what we have here. This is a little thing. This comes out in March. How interesting. This comes out in March. This is The Formation of Calcium by M.S. Coe. The Formation of Calcium. Doesn't mention whether on the cover whether or not it's a novel. The cover certainly wants to make trouble. It certainly wants to alienate readers. Let's see if the book does. Middle-aged Mary Ellen Washi has finally freed herself of her stultified past life in western New York State and moved to Florida. With the husband she's grown to hate firmly in her rearview mirror and all ties to her family cut off, she changes her name, bleaches her hair, and befriends Natalie, a seemingly kind, martini-loving woman whom she promptly begins to manipulate. As her machinations propel her beyond the brink of who she used to be, Mary Ellen seeks to unburden herself, but not one to sit down with pen and paper. She narrates the events of her new life into a cassette recorder. I wonder what that was doing there. For those of you who were born in the 21st century, that's what that is. That's a tape recorder. Once upon a time, that was a different thing from your phone, and your phone was at home anyway. It was attached to the wall in the kitchen, so it wouldn't have done you any good if you wanted to tape record something anyway. You had to bring a separate device. And if you wanted to listen to music on your way, well, for 70 years you couldn't because your phonograph was back at home. But after a while, a marvel of technological invention allowed you to bring a device that could play a cassette tape that had recorded music on it. But those were all separate devices. They weren't the same one. Same thing with the camera. The idea that you could carry all of those things and a diary and a library in your pocket in something that weighs as much as a deck of cards, that was totally beyond the pale. Let's see. She gives each tape an innocuous name to keep the curious away. A riveting account of one woman's awful reinvention. M.S. Coe's new novel, okay, it is a novel, is disturbingly funny and completely unexpected. Okay. And let's see here, about the author. Born in Las Vegas, M.S. Coe is an American writer living in Guadalajara. After she graduated with an MFA in creative writing from Cornell University, Clash Books published her first novel, New Veronia, in 2019. Okay. Fantastic. So this is a novel, comes out in March, not a long thing. Let's move on here. What's this next one? Still have drops of rain on it. Not raining at the moment. It's snowing at the moment. But it's been going back and forth across that line all day. A hint of sunlight. Not a hint of sunlight. Let's see here. Oh. Okay, this is a new Penguin Classic. Well, how odd that they would put it in a package like that. This is George Schuyler. This is Black Empire. Very pretty edition there. What have we got here? A pioneering work of Afrofuturism and anti-racist fiction. An amazing serial story of black genius against the world is how Black Empire was promoted upon its original publication from 1936 to 1938 in the Pittsburgh Courier. It tells the electrifying tale of Dr. Henry Belsidis, a black scientific genius who masterminds a worldwide conspiracy to take back the African continent from imperial powers and punish Europe and America for white supremacy and their hate crimes against the planet's black population. At once daring, high-stakes science fiction adventure and a strikingly innovative Afrofuturist classic by a leading figure in the Harlem Renaissance, this controversial and fearlessly political work lays bare the ethical quandaries of exactly how far one should go in the name of justice. And with what has to be the prettiest edition that it's ever received. How wonderful. How wonderful. Okay, well, I don't have any paperwork on this. I'm assuming this is out already. But it's always nice to get a Penguin Classic in the mail. Let's do this next one. This next one is thin. It's wafer thin. So it could be... okay, we saw this already. This is a finished copy of something that we've seen already. This comes out in early February. This is Western Lane by Chetna Maru. This is a tiny little novel. It would take me hardly any time to read all of the things that I've got so far today. Maybe I'll do that. Let's see here. 11-year-old Gopi has been playing squash since she was old enough to hold a racket. When her mother dies, her father enlists her in a quietly brutal training regimen, and the game becomes her world. Slowly she grows apart from her sisters. Her life is reduced to the sport, guided by its rhythms, the serve, the volley, the drive, the shot, and its echo. But on the court, she is not alone. She is with her pa. She is with God, Jed, a 13-year-old boy with his own formidable talent. she is with the players who have come before her. She is in awe. Okay, well, I remember this comes out in early February. I remember being intrigued by this when we got the advance copy. I am still intrigued by it. I dipped my toe in that advance copy just a bit, just to get a flavor for it, and I kind of liked what I experienced. Now I will read the whole thing, which is the product of fatigue. It is the product of fatigue. It would take me probably 2 hours to write a book of this length. This is extremely generous margins, and this is barely 150 pages. So maybe the author was fatigued. And then we'll do the last package here, and then we'll be done with this mail for today. A miserable day, just miserable. Type of thing that I feel like I should apologize to the bean, but I'm not responsible. Okay, all right, this one doesn't have a sheet either, but this is a forthcoming book. This comes out in April. This is Adam Sternberg, The Eden Test. The Eden Test. A novel, I'm assuming? Yes, a novel. Let's see here. Daisy and Craig's marriage is in serious trouble. That's why Daisy has signed up for the Eden Test, a week-long getaway for couples in need of a fresh start. Yet even as she's struggling to salvage her marriage, it seems Craig has plans to leave her for another woman. In fact, his bags are already packed long before he arrives to meet Daisy in the remote cabin in the woods in upstate New York. So he agrees to go on the Eden Test, even though his bags are already packed to leave the marriage. At first, their week away is marked by solitude, connection, and natural beauty, and only a few hostile locals. But what Craig doesn't know is that Daisy, a shy, talented actress, has her own secrets, including a burner phone she's been using for mysterious texts. Not to mention the Eden Test itself, which poses the searing new question to the couple every day, each more explosive than the last. Their marriage was never perfect, but now the lies and revelations are piling up as the week becomes much more than they bargained for. How far are they willing to go? Okay, why do I know this author? He is an editor at the New York Times. He's the author of Shovel Ready, which I have not read, Near Enemy, and The Blinds. I think it was The Blinds that I read. And he lives with his family in, say it with me now, Brooklyn. So we have a novel coming out in April. So The Eden Test. Then Western Lane, Black Empire in a new book form, and The Formation of Calcium. So not a lot of reading here in this mail haul, but that's just as well. That's just as well. I've got a lot of other stuff to do. So that is the mail for today. There'll be no mail tomorrow unless mail comes very, very late tonight. But we'll see what the week resumes on Monday. So I will wrap this up for now, and I will see you then. Thank you, BookTube.